car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Well, I am pleased to say, as I do every week, that we have the owner of Frontier Motors here in the studio, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to take any phone inquiries from you. Let's say you want to get the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. Call us, 478-3116, 478-3116, and for the remainder of this half hour, I will connect you as if by magic to Ivan Struckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don, thanks so much for the introduction, and here we go again. WCOA Radio 1370 is the oldest radio station in Pensacola, and we've been doing the show not for 90 years like they've been alive. We have been doing the show going on 20 years now, and we're also videotaping this for our Blab TV customers, and hopefully this won't be our last show. There is a rumor, Don, that this might be it. I'm talking about Blab shutting down on May 1st, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen. So anyways, for those of you watching me on TV, hopefully this will not be the last show. We started Blab and COA almost the same time back in 1995. So we've been doing the show for a long time. This show is not just about Frontier Motors and what we offer the people in the Pensacola community. It has to do with the advice that we offer people when they're in the car market. And what I mean by that is that when you're in the car market, there's a lot of things that you think about. And I have to remember, as being in the car business, all I think about when I get up in the morning is cars, and more cars. Well, most people buy a car every 11.2 years. That's the average age. It might be more than that. The average age of a car on the road right now is 11.2 years. By the way, folks, that's a record. That means there's a lot of old cars out there. It's hard to believe because last year they had a sales record of 17.5 million new cars were sold. And even after putting 17 million more cars on the road, the average age is still 11.2 years. That means there's a lot of people out there driving with 15-year-old cars, which means that you might be forced in the car market before you even think you're going to be in the car market. If your car is aged and stops running, you don't want to spend $2,500 on maintenance on that car if the transmission or the engine goes. Put that money down and get a new car. 17.5 million people decided to buy new cars. So what we do is we give people advice because they're not used to buying cars. They don't really know how to go about doing it and how to go about getting a good deal. Now, why would I teach a person how to get a good deal on a car, whether that be new or used? Well, one reason is because people are then become familiar with Frontier Motors. They become familiar that what we talk about on the radio and TV show actually happens in real life when you come to the dealership. That when I tell you I'm going to help you buy a car somewhere else, we actually do that. And we're not doing this to get you to buy a car from us, even though that does happen a lot of time, because obviously if you come on the lot, I just looked at my computer. This is a new record, folks. We have 399 cars in inventory at Frontier Motors in one location. That's more than we've ever had. When we started almost 20 years ago, we started with 30 cars. We have 400 right now. That's a big change. What happens when you come in for that free advice, we're going to sit down with you, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you what to pay for a new car. If you buy a new car, I'm holding in my hands, which you aren't going to see this on the radio, obviously, but I'm holding in my hands the new car cost guidebook. And I subscribe to these books instead of subscribing to the Consumer's Reports, which, by the way, I get those also. I get Consumer's Reports. But to get an invoice from Consumer's Reports, it costs about $15. Well, I subscribe to them at no charge. So what I can do for you is tell you what a dealer paid for the new car. Now, that might help you get a good deal. If you know what he paid, give him a little bit of profit, boom, you're done. What's the next thing you need to know? What's that trade-in really worth? And I'm not talking about book values. Everybody's got books. I got 2 books in my hand right now. I've got the black book, which is wholesale. I've got the NADA guidebook, which is retail. But how do you know if these books are right or not? What if the market is actually different than what the books say? And I don't ask me why it should be, but sometimes there's not enough data in those books as far as enough sales to give you the right dollar amounts. And that's where we come in at Frontier Motors. What you do is you tell us the car that you're interested in. Give us the ID number. And what we're going to do is we're going to run the history report for you. And everybody knows what a Carfax is. Most people don't know what an auto check is. The auto check is the second largest provider of history reports in the nation. What we do is we subscribe to both of them. Carfax and auto check. We do them on every car we have in inventory. Right now we have 399 cars. They have the Carfax and the auto check in the glove box. Folks, if you go down a dealer's lot, I had a customer yesterday trading a car in. I'm going to get off the subject, not off the subject, off a tangent a little bit. Had a customer trading a car in yesterday. We appraised it, and it had what we call a bad Carfax. Now, what's a bad Carfax? It wasn't a total vehicle, which would be a bad Carfax. It wasn't a salvage title, which would be a very bad Carfax. It wasn't an odometer problem, a flood damage car, or a lemon law buyback. But what I consider a bad Carfax is front end collision, airbags deployed, disabling accident, major accident reported. This was on a trade-in. The customer only had the car for about 6 months. He bought it from a competitor. He bought it from what he said, a friend of his that happened to be a salesman at the competitors. He never asked for the Carfax report. And folks, it's not illegal to sell a car that's been in a major accident and not tell anybody. You don't have to. You personally don't have to do it when you're selling your car if it's been a major accident, and we as a dealer don't have to do it. Would I feel somewhat obligated as an honorable dealer to tell you if the vehicle you're purchasing has been in a major accident? Of course I do. Because what happens if I sold you that car and you found out afterwards? You'd be pretty mad. It's not illegal to sell that car. It's not illegal to not tell you about it. It is illegal to lie to you. It's called a verbal contract. If somebody asks a dealership, has that car ever been in an accident? The answer you're going to get from the dealership, not to my knowledge. In other words, they're protecting themselves as far as they know it hasn't. That's why you get the history report at no charge at Frontier Motors. I pay one fee. I can run as many as I want. So when you call Frontier Motors with the ID number, I have a system called Price Driver where I plug your ID number in. It gives me both reports, and it tells me the average selling price based on the equipment and based on the model you're telling me that you have. So I can look at that selling price. I can go into the auction reports, and I can find out if that selling price that they tell you on there is correct or not. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. I can do this within a matter of minutes. I can give you a bid on your car within 15 minutes. In other words, let's say I can't talk you out of buying a depreciated car. We'll get to that in a minute, what a depreciated car is. Let's say I can't talk you into a 16 model or a 15 used car because you have your heart set on a new car. So you're going to buy the new car. So I'm going to tell you what to pay for the new car by using my cost guidebook. I'm going to appraise your trade-in for you. I can do this over the phone. I'd rather do it in person, but I can do it over the phone and tell you what the appraisal should be. So you make your best deal at the new car dealership, get the discount, get the rebates, get a deal where you feel you're comfortable with that deal. And then use my appraisal. Now, you don't have to tell them what my appraisal is. Let's say I appraise your car for $20,000. And you throw the keys to them and say, go appraise my car. They come back about, 3 hours later sometimes. And they tell you, I'm going to give you $17,000 for your car. You don't have to get mad and run out. You can't blame them for trying. But they're not going to get away with it. Because you've already been at Frontier Motors and got that $20,000 appraisal, which you have folded up in your back pocket, and you pull it out and say, I was just at Frontier Motors. And they say that they'll pay me $20,000 for my car. And you know what? I'm not even buying nothing from them. If I'm going to spend $30,000 or $40,000 with you, Mr. Dealer, I want $21,000 for my car. Because I'm buying a car. I'm doing business with you. And that's how you go about getting yourself a good deal. A lot of times it works. A lot of times it doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy the new car. If they're giving you a good deal on a new car, just sell me the trade-in. You can actually trade it in at the dealer, use my appraisal, and I'll buy it from that dealership. Now, the reason they talk you into trading it, and follow me, folks, for a second, if you're buying a $20,000 new car, let's say you're buying a Chevy Sonic, and you could actually buy a brand new Sonic for $20,000. And let's say you got a F-150 you're trading, and I appraised it for $20,000. Well, if you trade it at the Chevrolet dealership, let's say you go to Pete Moore or you go to Sandy Sansing, which are our two local dealers, you like the salesman, you like the price, and it's $20,000. If they give you $20,000 for your trade-in, you don't pay any tax. Zero. If you sell me the trade for $20,000, and now you're going to have to pay taxes on the car without a trade-in. So you have to pay tax on $20,000, which is probably around $1,400 or $1,500. So sometimes they talk you into taking less for your car because there's a tax advantage, but why not get the best of both worlds? Why not get the higher appraisal for Frontier Motors, trade it in at the dealer of your choice, and I'll buy it right from that dealer because I don't have to pay tax on it, and you get the big tax credit. If you've got a $50,000 trade, we had a customer the other day that did not take advantage of this. Figure this out, folks. They put a car on consignment, and I sold the car on consignment. It was almost a $60,000 Escalade. They went out and bought a new Tahoe. They had to pay $4,000 in taxes. If they would have traded, they would have saved $4,000 in taxes. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because I could have got them a Tahoe, almost like new. And the advantage of getting it from me, according to Consumers Reports, which I have a little graph here on Consumers Reports, this was an April's edition of last year, on page 21. Consumers Report says the average depreciation in the first year is 27%. 27%. The average car sold last year was $34,000. I'm actually surprised it was that low. That wasn't the list price. That was the transaction price. Might have been a $40,000 car. You negotiate down to $34,000. But the average transaction price last year was $34,000, which means that if you bought the car last April for $34,000 and I appraised it today, you'd lose $9,200 in 1 year. Why not buy that 1-year-old car and you take the depreciated savings? That's what we specialize in at Frontier Motors. And folks, when I talk about used cars, you might think that we're talking about a car with 97,000 miles on it, which we have some of those. We have some trade-ins with 97,000 miles. But when I'm talking about a used car, is how about the 16 Toyota Highlander we have on the lot? This Toyota Highlander is pearl white, has navigation, backup camera, electric sunroof, leather interior. It's a used vehicle. It has 2 miles on it. Not 2,000, not 20,000. It has 2. Now, that's another record. I mentioned the record earlier. We have 399 cars in inventory. This is a car I bought a couple days ago. It is the lowest mileage used car I've ever bought. Now, we have a lot of low mileage cars in stock. That happens to be a weird one with 2 miles on it. We have a Grand Caravan I bought from a private individual that says, I wish I wouldn't have bought a minivan. He bought it. He drove it right to us. He wanted to cancel a deal, a new car deal. He bought it one day, wanted to cancel it the next day, said, no, go pound sand. We're not giving you your money back, which I can't blame him, but they could have put it on consignment and sold it for him, made him an offer. They wouldn't have anything to do with him. Once they sold the car, they pretty much they washed their hands of the situation. He didn't want the car anymore. They wouldn't buy it back, which I understand. Now it's titled. I'm more than happy to have a 150-mile Grand Caravan on the lot. At a huge, he lost about $5,000. He didn't lose $9,100 because he only had it like 2 weeks. Versa, Nissan Versa, 500 miles on it. Camaro with 900 miles on it. Nissan Quest with 1,100 miles on it. A Mazda Miata hardtop automatic transmission. Very rare hardtop Miata. 1,800 miles on it. A couple more things real quick. We're going to get into the car industry in a little bit here, but we want to talk a little bit about what makes Frontier Motors stand out when you do come to Frontier Motors for that free advice we were talking about, which would be cost on a new car. What's your car worth on trade if you're going to trade it in? What's your car worth if we just write you a check for it? If you've got a third car and you don't want it, I'll just write you a check for it, cancel the insurance, you're done. We can put your car on consignment and sell it for you. Free Carfax reports, free advice on anything that has to do with purchasing a car. Which car is a good car, bad car. So those are some of the things that we talk about as Frontier Motors. The other thing that sets us apart from the competition is how we do business. We love when a customer comes in and we wow the customer with the service that we give them, which happens all the time. And Don, I think you've got a couple of testimonials that I brought with us from customers. We sent everybody a little survey out to ask them how they did. And one of the reasons I send surveys out, folks, because I want to know if we did bad. Mm-hmm. I talk about this radio show, how good we treat customers.
Right.
If a customer ever comes in and they're not treated good, I want to know about it. So I sent a survey out to every single customer by email, some of them, and we get a pretty good response. We're getting about close to a 40% response rate, which
That's
what
pretty
happens
high.
with survey. It's high. Because I know when I get a survey, I never do it, never fill it out. So it's nice that our customers fill out. What do you got there, Don? You got a couple?
Well, this is from Tony, Toni. I assume that's a female. It was like dealing with my family, she says. She's talking about her car experience. I've never experienced the effort put forth by Rick, Don, and Brian to help me purchase the car I needed. As a team, they got me out of a bad situation and put me into an excellent car and an excellent payment plan. They were great. If ever I need to purchase another vehicle, I'm heading straight to the Buffalo and to the workers there. I've always dreaded car shopping due to the old school sales tactics that most dealerships employ. For the first time in my car history, I was actually astounded by the care, the concern, and the dedication that I experienced this past week. It took 3 days, and I was shocked to see the results because I doubted due to past experience with other dealers. You all are doing the car sales right. Okay. She mentions a special gift that most customers get. I'm going to skip over that part here because that's a surprise. Anyway, the gift was a nice touch. Thanks, Mom and Pop. The only problem is when I brag about you to others, they already have heard about you or have been there. I will continue to seek out others who need you anyway. Thanks a bunch, and it's signed Tony.
Well, that's a good testimonial, Don. And last week we had a customer call and said basically the same thing. They called the radio show and said, "Hey, we bought a car from you guys." And actually, what you talked about on the radio, how you treat people, how you give me an out-the-door price, how you're not worried about if we want to go shop somewhere. And that's one of the things we always talk about. How do you know if you're getting a good deal unless you go somewhere else? Well, I've got a couple of ways that I can show you because I've got a thing called Price Driver that tells me what every make and model is selling within 150 miles. I can make it go 300 miles, 500 miles. So I know what the competition is. Sometimes when I just print it out and give it to you, here, Pete Moore's got this, Sandy Sansing has this, Alan Turner has this. So you know what everybody has. And if you know that, and I've got the best price, I can pretty much convince you without shopping, because people hate car shopping, but they go car shopping because they don't really know. It's not because they want to know. As long as it's the car you want. I'm talking about even if you know that this is what I want. I had the other customer I was talking about picked out a GMC Terrain, a brand new one, and they were looking at Vince Wibb's, a brand new GMC Terrain. Well, I happen to have a 1-year-old one that had 30,000 miles on it. So I had to justify the price of mine low enough to where they say, I'll buy your used one. And they did. They went back they got the best deal. They were happy with the dealership. Everything was fine. I was just they didn't have a used one. So I got lucky. I happened to have the right color, the right equipment. And my price was low enough to make the difference. Now, all of the publications, I've got a magazine in my hand called Car Biz, all the publications say that price is not the most important thing. And one of the things it talks about right here, the top 6 reasons from purchasing, why people bought from a dealership. The number 1 reason was a sales associate. If they liked the sales associate, on a percentage basis, they bought from the dealer. If they didn't like the sales, sometimes I could say sales/manager. Sometimes you have a good salesman and the manager comes out and he's a complete idiot. And you think like, oh my God, I feel so bad for the salesman because he's so great. But this guy here that's trying to put me in a car today and give you the old squeezeroo like, what's it going to take? That's a bunch of garbage. So the number 1 reason they did buy is because they liked the sales associate. They liked the service that they received. They had the best deal. Dealership reputation, the best model and color. Now, the number 1 reason they didn't buy is the way they were treated. Number 1. Isn't that interesting?
It is. You would think price.
Yeah, it wasn't. And on my publications say that price was number 16 on the list, which I find hard to believe. I think price is,
at least
I don't believe everything I read. And
Right.
you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet or in print. But according to the publications that I get done, it says that price is number 16. I think it's more like around number 6. I think the number 1 thing is a salesman. If you don't like your salesman, no matter what you're buying, if it's a big ticket item, and for most people, when they buy a car, it's the second largest purchase in their life other than a home. I mean, if you happen to have enough money to buy a boat or an airplane maybe, or a submarine, but usually a car's up there.
You know, it's funny that you said something about the quality of the salesperson. I'd like to read another one. I was kind of perusing this a moment ago because it focuses directly on the great service they got from one of your salespeople. This is from Joshua, and he says, my car purchase was a no-hassle purchase. I felt really comfortable. They treated us very nicely. Here's the part I'm talking about. Jake did a great job helping us. We had our kids with us, so it was a little distracting, but Jake took the time to interact with them, and he even found out what their interests were and printed out some coloring pages to keep them occupied. I just love that. I will definitely recommend Frontier Motors and Jake Herndon to anyone I know who is looking to buy a car. Thank you, and thank you for helping our growing family, and that's from Joshua.
Yeah. Hey, Don, that you're reading, there's probably about 10 or 15 surveys on there. How are the percentages? We rate them 75%, 100%? Are they all 100%?
Let's see here. Where does the percentage part
on the right-hand side of the column?
Yes. Let me see. 100, 100, 100. Okay, hold on. 100, 100, 100. Wait a minute. 100, 100. All folks, 100.
And we don't print out. If there's a 50, it'll be there. But that's the whole thing that I'm talking about, is that we really pride ourselves in what we do with Frontier Motors. Thank you, Don. And it's interesting, Don. I got an article here in my business magazine, my car business. It says U.S. per dealership sales rose in 2015. It says the average number of new vehicles sold per dealership rose 4.8% in 2015 to 80 units a month. The average new car dealership last year sold 80 units a month across the United States. Last month, we sold 298 units. Now, why I'm bringing this up is not to gloat, but why? How can we sell almost 4 times more cars than the average new car dealership? Number one, because of the depreciation. People come in and say, I got to check it out. How much can I save on a 2016 used car? Or 15 or even 14? And the savings are astronomical. I always bring out the biggest savings. I talk about the Jaguar that I had. That was $87,000. We sold it a couple days ago for $55,000. It had 8,000 miles on. Can you think about depreciation? I feel sorry for the poor sap that bought it for $87,000. And a year later, and I made money. So let's say I paid $53,000 for it. He paid $87,000 for it.
Right.
I can't even figure that out.
And 53 is a perfectly fair price, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I was asking 60. The NEDA retail was 61. I was asking 59.9 for it. I ended up, I was driving the car, so finally I got tired of it and said, I'm just going to sell it for a minimum profit. And we sold it for $55,000. And I still made money, and somebody got a bargain compared to a new one at $87,000. Now, that's extreme, folks. I think on the GMC Terrain, we're talking about a difference of $4,500 for 1 year on the GMC, because we still had to make money. The average depreciation we talked about is 27%, which is $9,200 in 1 year. But you can't save $9,200 because we got to make some money. But we don't have to rip anybody off. The advantage of being Frontier Motors is that we're not in Car City. I don't have a multi-million-dollar mausoleum. We don't have an indoor showroom. We don't have high overhead. But we do have almost 400 cars in inventory. Our salespeople unlock every car every morning. So you can sit in the cars. If you're coming at your lunchtime, you only have 45 minutes, and you still want to go eat somewhere at McDonald's or something, you can come and sit in 15 different cars without having to get a key and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The other thing we do while we're there is we give you an out-the-door price in writing. If you go to a dealership and they don't, walk out. Tell them Frontier Motors says I should get an out-the-door price. Now, what does that mean? That means only one figure is important. The list price isn't important. The rebates are not important. The dock fee, the tire tax, the electronic title fee, not important. The trade-in, believe it or not, is not important. The only thing that's important is what do you got to write a check for? Or if you're going to finance it, what do you got to finance? That makes it easier. If you know that figure and you're going to go shop, if my bottom line is $10,000, and you went to a new car dealership and their bottom line is $15,000, it's an easy decision to make. Is $5,000 enough savings for me to buy the used car? Most people would say yes. About 10 years ago, Don, I had it happen with a Lexus. It was a current year Lexus with 3,000 miles. I'll never forget it. It was an LS 460, a very expensive car.
Right.
My price, this is what, I gave him the price. I gave the customer a price. His comeback was, that's only $10,000 cheaper than the new one. I'm going to go buy a new one. I thought, well, that's interesting. That guy's got more money he knows what to do with.
Exactly.
I was saving him $10,000. The car wasn't 1 year old. It was about 6 months old. Under factory warranty, no problems with it. Oh, it was only a $10,000 savings. Heck, I could have saved them $10,000 and threw in a $10,000 car for a spare. That you're going to. Some people I don't understand.
I'm driving a car I paid $13,000 for, man, right now.
Yeah.
At your dealership.
Isn't that something, Don?
Yeah.
That a guy would think that $10,000 on a one-year-old car is not enough savings? I was flabbergasted. I said, go, young man. Yeah. Send me your friends and neighbors. Hopefully they're not like you. Most people would love to buy a car with 3,000 miles and save $10,000. We have a lot of Lexus products in stock. There's not a local dealer. So you come to Frontier Motors. Last time I checked, we had 22 Lexus products in stock. With 399 cars, we've got all makes and models, folks. They're unlocked every day. We make it so easy. We give you a bottom line price. We talked about that before. If you're dealing with a dealer that doesn't give you a bottom line price, my suggestion is walk out. Why are they not giving you a price? The only reason I can think of is they're not proud of the price, or they're afraid that the price can be beat. Well, if that's the case, they should do the research and give you the price like I give you the price. Why am I able to give you an out-the-door figure and not worry if you're going to walk out? One reason is because I've done my research to make sure that when I give you that price, it's the best deal. Now, it might not be the cheapest price, but it's going to be the nicest condition car, the lowest miles, the highest equipment, the best color, the cleanest on the history report. Those all make the difference. It's not just the price. And we learned that years and years ago, that it's not just the price. When I go to the auctions, I never buy a car that's rated low. Some dealers do that on purpose so they can sell them cheaper. I'd rather pay a little bit more and get a nicer car, not mark it up as much so I can still give you a deal on it. But I want that car that doesn't have to be reconditioned. I want that car that the customer never trashed. That when I get it, that's the way he had it. Just took care of it. Always parked it away. Don't have those parking lot nicks in it. Rotated the tires so they're good. The brakes are good. Clean history report. No accidents. Non-smoker. Those are the cars that we want on our lot. And that's why we sell 298 cars instead of the average dealerships that sells 80. We save you all that money in the first year depreciation. And even the cars that we take in trade that might have 70 or 80,000 miles on, they get a warranty up to 100 more thousand miles. If you buy a car from Frontier Motors, if it's a 2008 or newer, and has less than 100,000 miles on it, let's say it's got 99,000 miles on it, your warranty goes up to 199,000 miles. Don, how many miles are on your Mitsubishi?
About 92,000.
Okay, if you traded that
2011.
Let's say you traded into me, Don.
Mm-hmm, which I will be doing.
Okay, and let's say your neighbor, friend, relative came and bought that car from me without paying any extra, without buying an extended warranty. They would get a 5-year warranty from today at another 100,000 miles. So their warranty would expire at 192,000 miles. Well, that's the drivetrain, engine, transmission, transactional, the big three, I call them, the things that you're worried about. And the reason we do that is we want you to know that we're confident in the car that we sell. And if you go to a used car dealership that doesn't give you even a 30-day warranty, I definitely would not buy from them. They have no confidence in their product whatsoever when they mark the box as is. And there's a couple of franchise dealerships in Pensacola that mark their used cars as is when they're out of factory warranty, which I find astounding that they won't at least put a 30-day. If I've got a car, any car I sell has a 30-day warranty. And the ones that have over 100,000 miles get a 3-month warranty. But anyways, that's what it takes to be a little bit above the competition. That's Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Thanks to all the Blab TV watchers for the last 19 and a half years. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead country.